Specialist log number 003. It's hard to really put into words everything that's been going on. Firstly, the developments in the extraterrestrial contact cases continue to prove interesting, overwhelming at times, if I'm to be completely honest. All the signs keep looking like they're trying to point me towards a certain area of the United States. A certain spot known for quite a bit of activity. As much as the show is progressing, which I'm happy to report that it is, it hasn't come out without its losses. Perhaps this is because these thoughts are because of a stand-up comedy show I just went to as part of an early birthday present. But in times in life, and I've been warned about this several times, when you're actually on the path you're meant to be on, you're going to find that it's lonely. You might find supporters from friends and family at first, but the second it starts to actually evolve into something, they tend to start reflecting negatively upon themselves and not want to associate with you. And unfortunately, certain new ventures had to be born through conflict. Certain people didn't agree with my actions. I didn't agree with theirs. And it's a notion I still stand upon. But there were certain individuals who, in spite of all that, are worth keeping around. The types of people needed for such adventures. So I'm going to do my best to try to reach out, mend some bridges. As it is my understanding, something new has happened in those areas. It's none of my business, but these people choose to talk. I'll listen. They might think I'm just trying to do something special for the show, but in the end, while all these fun programs I do are a nice way to talk about my experiences and maybe reach out to even more people who don't necessarily have the resources or have anyone they can go to for some of the more exotic things I handle in my life. Very things that make me the specialist in strange. It's my best mode to reach them in hopes that something about whatever's happening will help them. There's been individuals who tried to say I have exaggerated facts, tried to twist things into my favor, and while I'm not one to deny that there are incidents where I have tried to spin things to my favor, these shows are merely a method of reaching out, potentially a method of funding, because what is needed in order to do these types of things and do them effectively gets rather expensive, especially where the reach is starting to become a bit more international, intergalactic, multidimensional, even multiversal, if that's such a word. It's only a matter of time to see what happens. Perhaps this new film idea will prove most beneficial. Maybe. Just maybe. Thankfully, most of my field operations are on hold for now. Or at least in hands that are on hands of control that are no longer my own. The Bald and Bonkers Network, as we're coming to call it now, will be memorialized on the moon in the same operations that will allow me to place specific sigils into a time capsule on the surface of the moon itself in hopes of aiding in the fight against negative energies. I'm told that the grapevines that majority have left, but many may still linger. In times of crisis, they have offered their aid, and it is becoming more and more apparent that these beings, my star family, I've come to call them, they're here to help. And as exotic of a notion that may be, as unbelievable as that may be for some childish mindsets, quite frankly, aren't that intelligent in the first place. Accepting the more exotic possibilities, I'd be an idiot to try to deny that those were my kids. There's a lot of people, especially nowadays, going back to the earlier remarks about what am I doing wrong if this person is doing right. So many people just choose to be toxic, choose to be negative about life. And granted, maybe they're in a situation where that mindset is not to be, was not to be judged. It's just about anybody would feel the same things if similar circumstances were brought to them, but they don't choose to try to make themselves better. They don't choose to change the patterns that led them to the life that they are in. Which is more lonely, I wonder? Being someone that no one wants to hang around. Well, let me rephrase. Which is the most lonely alternative when you think about it? Being someone who chooses to reiterate toxic behaviors, chooses to spread hate, anger, temper tantrums, just so people would stay around you, so you can have some false idea of acceptance, or someone who is lonely because they chose to do the right thing, chose to be them, chose to be who they are, and became damn good at it. Which is truly lonely, I wonder. But suppose that's a conversation for another day. More information on a possible case keeps coming in. Doesn't seem tied to anything I've mentioned before, but the level of strangeness that is coming through nowadays, I can't deny anything. More possibilities. Perhaps some new projects need to come together in order to, well, make sure I get everything right. Who's to wonder? A close colleague of mine fully believes that the 2nd of February is going to be worth noting. Word through the veil is that there's another conflict on the way. It'll be a nasty one. Diplomatic missions are trying to prevent it, but people have just become too stubborn, too scared of all that's happening. It's ironic when you really think about it. People chose to lie. The media became so damn lazy about their lies. How they spin the stories in order to try to stir controversy for ratings became so obvious. There was no effort that even some of the most lesser of intelligent people were able to see it. Conspiracy theorists continue to go through the roof, and unfortunately, much of what they're talking about is coming true as well. At least the ones that are worth mentioning. Not like flat earthers, whose sole basis on their entire arguments is that governments cannot be trusted. You're right. But what benefit does saying that the world where you live on is a disc? What benefit is that? Control. It was never truly a belief in the accepted scientific methods that the world was flat. And religious notions, while should be noted for possible hidden meanings, contextual ideals, and potentially events that we may never see again on this earth, historical accounts. Many people fail to realize how easy it is for information to be manipulated through those measures. Accept everything at face value. I just don't know. People wonder why I keep my circles close and small. Only certain people allowed certain information. Because quite frankly, the measures of acceptance and political correctness, cancel culture even, only nurtured more hostilities, more weakness over, well, let's just say that they don't realize half the fights that are going on social media are meaningless compared to what is truly out there, the true evils that have unfolded. people don't want to accept. They want control. Control exists for no one. It's purely chaos with the illusion of control for comforts. Because people cannot manage themselves in a time of crisis. And the number of crises averted because of people willing to risk their lives. The people most judged by these ignorant insects. These insecure, mindless infants. Wow. It goes to show what a majority of these people will let innocent children become hurt in order to secure their false ego. So many people can't be trusted. So many people choose to hurt because of their own selfish greed. Yeah. Maybe they've had mental illness. Maybe they themselves were victims at one point in time. But they were too weak to step up and make sure that never happens again. And yes, I will admit that there's people that message is directed to. And if you feel it is, chances are it is. I'm done censoring myself. Keeping my language to, how we say, PG-13 related standards. Just to make sure that some of the younger members of my audience can continue watching my stuff. And the new ones that may come along the way. That is one thing. But censoring myself from what I believe is right, what I feel is the truth, that I simply will not do. And those who actually take the time to speak to me, normally they realize I will not explore certain things unless I feel there is some form of legitimacy behind it. Not do my best to try to ensure everything is in check. I've failed to do so before, and I may mistakenly do so again. Even with these extraterrestrial connections, the potential Anunnaki descendancy, due to the fact that my blood is O negative, something I'm still exploring further. But nevertheless, in spite of the more exotic avenues these things seem to be manifesting in, I am still only human. I may make a bad call from time to time. And in time I will accept the responsibility for my actions. But I will not accept the responsibility for those who I had to put down along the way. Because quite frankly, false egos, those who think themselves higher than others because of a position of power, a title maybe, those are some of the weakest individuals I know, and it will not take much to break them. We will be